Mm. Oh, here we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Enni, and I'm going to talk a bit more about FBI. So tonight's theme is The Future is Bright. But I believe for a bright future, the world needs a lot more FBI. Whatever that means will become very clear in the next 5 or so minutes. But I can promise you I will not be talking about the Federal Bureau of Investigation because, frankly, I think we probably don't need any more process or bureaucracy, right? Before I kick off, I need to make a little confession. And getting to know my fellow speakers tonight, I'm probably sure that I'm speaking for all of us when I say that I spent days agonizing over this talk. I had a real moment of despair. And in this moment of despair, I fell into a terrible trap. Before deciding what I wanted to say here tonight, I was spending all my time thinking about clever, cool, funny ways of how to present it. Style over substance, you might say. And I'd become so obsessed with what the execution was going to be that I completely lost sight of what the idea at the heart of it was. That might sound familiar to you, I'm not sure. But let's talk a bit more about that tonight. But before that, I'm going to go back in time a few months when I was in New York. So I find myself in New York, and I hear that one of my heroes, Lena Dunham, is speaking. Hopefully, you'll know who she is. She is the creator, writer, director, and star of HBO's hit TV show, Girls. And Lena, at age 27, she's actually written an autobiography because she's already lived that much that she's got lots of stories to tell. If you haven't read it, it's worth checking out. It's pretty cool. And I'm in New York, and she's now actually doing a reading of this new book. And they've got this whole amazing creative evening planned at a venue in Brooklyn. They've got Zadie Smith coming to interview her because apparently they're best friends and talk all the time. They've got music, they've got debate, lots of cool stuff going on. But of course, it's already sold out. It's been sold out for months. But in this moment, I decide that I have to meet her. So I have to find a way to get in. So I rock up in Brooklyn 2 hours before the event starts. And eventually, after queuing outside and meeting a slightly scary, stalkerish fan, as well as an old man standing there with a sandwich board protesting against Lena, I actually find my way into the building. And it's totally worth it because she's absolutely brilliant. I don't know what your personal opinions of her might be. They might be, positive or negative, but I don't think anyone here can actually argue that she doesn't have any balls. Because this girl is awesome. She has a fucking big idea because she got really sick and tired of all the stories being told about women on TV, in films, in books. So she actually just went and wrote her own. That takes real courage. That takes real balls. And now she's on TV. She's saying unsayable things. She's showing unshowable things. And she's really portraying women in a completely new light. And it's not always pretty. Sometimes it's actually pretty disgusting. But she's being genuine, she's being raw, and she's being truthful. And she's not just doing that on her show and in her book, but she's actually out there, talking about things that she really believes in. She's speaking about safe sex and consent. She's campaigning for rape victims, and she's even talking about politics. All these things that young stars normally are too scared to talk about. And I think by exposing herself completely, she exposes herself physically, mentally, emotionally. She's actually changing the way we feel about women today. And more importantly, she's changing the way women feel about themselves and about each other as well. So take that campaign for real beauty, because I think that takes real guts. So for the purpose of this talk, and bear with me, I'm going to channel Lena Dunham in Girls. And like her main character, Hannah, I'm going to see myself for the next few minutes as the voice of my generation. So go along with it. And like Lena, there's something that really frustrates me with how things are today. Because I think we're all suffering from IDD, idea deficit disorder. We've got too distracted by big data, by platforms and touch points and lighting 1,000 small fires. And we really lost sight of where real strategy, and I mean real strategy, not just tactics, can make a huge difference for our clients' businesses. We've started focusing on executions instead of fostering ideas. We've started approaching our briefs through the mix of channels we should use instead of actually starting with a real truth, a real human truth, and a real purpose. And I think somewhere along the lines, we've actually started believing that people out there in the world care about our new advert, and they're actually waiting on YouTube for it to launch. Well, tonight, we need to stop living in an advertising world. Because frankly, if there's no one standing outside with a sandwich board protesting against our ideas, then I don't really think they're worth having. And ultimately, people outside our little circles don't really give a damn about the new online viral you're about to launch for sausages. And I've done a few, so I definitely know they really don't give a shit. So, what do we need to do? Let's start looking at the world instead of looking at the marketplace. We need to question what's going on today to actually move forward. We need to start, we need to stop obsessing about ad of the day in campaign and just winning at Cannes. And instead, we need to make a real difference for real people in the real world. So let's get Wired or The Economist or the New York Times to write about our ads. Let's win Oscars and Grammys and the Nobel Prize for our ideas. Wouldn't that be amazing? I know it's big and ambitious, but we can actually do it. But in order for us to get there, we need more big ideas. And I mean bigger than big ideas, gigantic, enormous ideas. We need more fucking big ideas. FBI. We need more fucking big ideas. And we need to move from IDD to FBI, because that is the future. Are you still with me? Yeah? Good. And ultimately, if we really want to help our clients get a disproportionate share of hearts and minds and wallets, we need these fucking big ideas to infiltrate popular culture. We need to infiltrate culture to actually become genuinely relevant, to give people something of real value. And in order for us to do that, we need to learn from Lena. We need to have real guts. We need to have real opinions. In order to make cultural dents, as she does, we need to expose our flaws, because we know that perfect is just boring. No one wants that. We need to make mistakes, because being right all the time is just exhausting. And we need to ultimately be brave and have real balls, because that's the only way we'll ever be genuinely relevant, talked about, noticed, and maybe just have a chance at being loved. Because being loved means that you will be hated. But whether they love you or whether they hate you, at least they won't forget you. So let's learn from Lena and be as good as she is at what she does, but maybe with just a little bit less nudity. Okay, thank you.